We're starting in
5 seconds.
5 seconds.
Ready?
Yep.
I'm going to hit it now. We got 3 seconds on Facebook Live.
I already started recording, big dog. I'm one step the game. One step ahead. Mike's in go mode.
Get ready for your next adventure. Longer days, warmer water, and brighter skies. There's no better time to hit the water and chase a little coastal magic. Whether you're booking a fishing charter, a sunset cruise, or just want to float and breathe, Coastal Marsh has got your summer adventure waiting. Departing daily from Little River, contact Captain Chris today at 304-807-7577 or book via email at chris@coastalmarshcharters.com. Let's make this summer one for the books.
Folks, welcome to another episode of On the Limb Podcast with Nature's Voice Game Calls, where deer camp becomes a reality for every listener. Join us as we talk God, family, country, and everything outdoors. Kick back, relax, and have a listen. Now, here's your host and co-host, Mike and Dan.
Well, Dan's not in with us tonight on the call, but Caleb's here again. Thank you, brother, for coming in. Sure appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Sure appreciate it. He's busy with the new fam there, the baby and all that good stuff. How's little Liam doing?
He's doing good, man. Eating, sleeping, dreaming of deer hunting, just like me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, we got bow season finally here, folks. So one thing I want to start off with this evening is I've been reading in a new devotional during the day. And one of the sayings from this author is God is more eager to answer than we are to speak to him. So one of the things that I do while I'm in the woods, and I encourage others to do it, is to create and build on that relationship with God that you have. And, that's one of the main things that he wants with us. He wants that relationship. He wants us to talk to him. He wants us to rely on him, lean on him and not our own understanding. So I just want to start off with that this evening. So we're going to be continuing our discussion this evening with Chris Ashley from the Passion of the Wild and Wonderful Outdoors, and we're going to be continuing the EHD discussion. So if you see on our ad we posted this evening there on Facebook, that picture was from Long Spur Tracking and Outfitting, and they gave us permission to use that. But they have done a lot of different things within the state tracking EHD, and they have different numbers in different areas. And Chris has assisted with that some, so we're going to talk to him here in a little bit. Give you some of our promo codes from some of our partners, AquaCase. They are your waterproof case and bag experts. You can go to their website, aquacase.net, and use promo code podcast15 at checkout for 15% off of your order. And be sure to check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. We're there. And don't forget to use podcast 10 at checkout at outdoor-pro-shop.com. 10% off your order there at checkout. So words are hard again this evening. That was Caleb saying while we were up there at Bass Pro Shops in Charleston when we was doing our live, because Dan was having some issues with words.
He did.
You get to talking and you want to talk fast. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, we got to get all this in there. I want to talk fast. And you just get tongue-tied. But anyways. All right. So without further ado, please welcome with me Chris Ashley from the Passion of the Wild and Wonderful West Virginia Outdoors. Chris, how you doing?
Good. How are we doing, gentlemen?
We're doing great, buddy.
Doing good.
You've been on the podcast before as a guest, and we sure appreciate your time. And seeing that you've kind of assisted Long Spur Tracking and Outfitting with this EHD issue that we have here in West Virginia, that's not supposedly that big of a thing. It hasn't spiked. It hasn't, gotten real big in different areas. So tell us a little bit about what you know and how you've assisted Long Spur Tracking and Outfitting.
Sure. Well, so, Sean and I talk routinely here, and what we were running into was my personal properties, both permission properties in West Virginia as well as private properties in Ohio, was, being severely impacted with EHD. Finding a lot of dead deer. Everyone is referencing it, the smell of death everywhere.
Yeah.
Kind of backstory was I kind of reached out to Sean, and him and Chrissy had already been kind of talking about the EHD that was going on and some opportunities of trying to reach out, help some people. But with both their backgrounds, with him being a biologist, myself being a chemical engineer, trying to really apply statistics of looking at some of these things and looking at it holistically, not just making assumptions that I think, some might tend to be doing. That I said, hey, man, I think we've got a great opportunity here to come out, try to do a survey, really put numbers to it, try to give some people some input. Myself primarily was what we were kind of trying to kick it off with, of how many deer have really been impacted, both living and dead, with this. And then, maybe it's an opportunity to help leverage that with others based on some of our learnings and findings. So Chrissy and him were immediately like, hey, yeah, you know what, we've talked about it already and we're on board. Let's do this. Let's kick it off and use your properties or some of the ones here that we found to what we think to be is really kind of the epicenter here of some of the West Virginia EHD severely being impacted coming off of the Ohio River.
Yes.
So they came out and we found, lots of dead deer here in the Wood County area.
So the Wood County area, from what I'm understanding, is primarily the hardest hit area here in West Virginia, correct?
That's at least what I'm also seeing on the DNR numbers as well. That's kind of confirming to that. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Which I think, and I think that's right across from Washington County, Meigs County, that kind of stuff.
Correct.
Because, like, I killed that big one 2 years ago, Mike, for instance, in Meigs County.
Mm-hmm.
And I got that private farm I got permission to hunt on in Meigs, and I know that, like, it's been real bad right there. So, right across the river, you got Wood County here in West
Athens
Virginia.
County, Meigs County,
Yeah.
and Washington County.
Yeah.
Yep.
And all three of them are being hit severely over in Ohio. And then, of course, just adjacent across here in West Virginia is Wood County.
Yeah, and we've discussed before that these hot temperatures that we're continuing to have is not helping things out.
Right.
Do you know a little bit more about the science behind how these midges are in the mud and in the area where these deer are getting their water?
Yes, my understanding is that that's what promotes them both breeding sites and sites or locations to lay the eggs. Again, it's also promoting part of their life cycle of where after they hatch, they're feeding on some of the mud or the muck, some of the components that are in that wet, muddy areas until they eventually, turn into the fly.
Yep.
And then from that point, a lot of people were thinking about that it's a saliva transfer like the CWD, but instead with it being EHD, that midge, once infected, is then transferring the virus through actual blood transfer. So you get an infected midge, it bites a deer, or it bites an animal to originally get the virus or get infected. It then can bite any animal thereafter and transfers that virus infection to them.
Okay.
Also, too, there were some new learnings that others shared with me that they believe that they've been able to track and identify that the virus can be transferred through the eggs themselves. So again, you've got the cycle being that they can go here in the fall, we get a frost, those eggs could lay dormant, come back next year and hatch, and they could still be a carrier of the virus. Not to mention also some of our deer or animals that have actually built up an immunity, but still are actively carrying that virus. And then, Sean and us all too, that a belief is that some of these midges, especially those that would be infected, for example, can get up into the airstream, get caught in that high velocity airstream or in some of these storms and get carried to other areas, and thus, if infected, carry that virus further into these other areas. So I know Sean in particular had been kind of focusing and looking on some of these preferential wind directions and maybe jet streams to see how that might impact transfers as well.
That's crazy that
But,
that's crazy that so deer can carry that virus, from year to year.
That's my understanding. Yes. Now, again, it's kind of like the flu.
Mm-hmm.
So they will have an immunity to a strain.
Yeah.
But that virus can, I'll say, mutate and to a different type of strain of that EHD virus, which their immunity might make them more able to fight it. But again, it is a different strain, so it can make you susceptible to it.
Wow.
And then, there's been some discussion too about fawns, coming from those that have an immunity. And my understanding and research on it is that it's also short-term immunity that the fawns have as far as being, born from the mother. Eventually, those antibodies from birth go ahead and break down or change, and then they lose that immunity.
Wow. See, I'm just sitting here thinking about this, and I thought, when this come out, that it's kind of like a warble in a squirrel. Is that kind of like?
Okay, yeah.
Is that kind of like what it is?
No, it doesn't actually go in.
So it just bites.
It's just like a mosquito or a,
Dang.
and maybe that's a poor reference, but it's a bite, not a boring, burying.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And you see them swarm. You can see them swarming almost like mosquitoes as well.
Yeah.
So that's part of a lot of the strategy that's going on with the water. Try to eliminate your muddy exposed areas where they might preferentially want to breed and lay the eggs and hatch. And
man,
just eliminate that. Also, maybe promoting predators that might go after and actually attack them, such as dragonflies, salamanders, frogs, fish.
Yeah. That's crazy. I've always heard that if you have dragonflies on your property, then your aquatic or your habitat there on your property, pH wise, is like really good. Yeah. Because I don't know everything behind that. I had just read a story about it, but it was talking about those. So do you know? Have you seen? Have you been actually in an area to where you have seen these midges or flies in the feeding area for the water, the water area?
I know Sean, I think, with us had pointed it out before when we were going around.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Well, I was going to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that I'm looking for the image here on their page just to get their post up that they made, because they had a lot of good points that they made about EHD. So they're saying that it's killing 75 to 80% of the deer on some properties in Ohio and West Virginia. And Longspur said that they are studying how to help deer populations recover faster and stronger. Simple problem. Yeah. It's really simple problems. What they're saying, climate change is making deer disease worse. Traditional recovery takes 5 to 10 years naturally. Management practices, we don't know whether those actually are working for this. Landowners need practical solutions now. And, they're doing some different testing on 6 different properties across 2 states. So tell us about do you know about some of those studies that they're doing in their testing?
Yep. So that's part of my properties as well as Sean's.
Okay.
3 of mine and 3 of his is what we're looking about doing. The idea with that is that what we're wanting to try to show, and that's really what this is we're looking at, I want to say 3 properties of mine, 3 properties of his, 2 where for him that we would be going ahead and trying to introduce some of these different practices, and 1 that would serve as a control. No practices being implemented. The property just stands as it is. These other properties, just an example, being all your walls on the property. It would be implementing, good mineral supplemental programs, high protein feed content, maybe habitat improvements, food plots, those types of things. And the idea is what we're hoping to be able to accomplish with a 3-year, maybe a 3-year plus study is that by introducing these programs, 1, you can show that your herd can bounce back maybe quicker, but also possibly stronger. Part of that might be also doing general measurements of your deer as far as, antler size, body mass, taking some of your live weights and field dress weights, generally seeing how the deer are improving over time, and then using that control as just a monitor to say, look, here's a property that's not having these programs in place. How's the deer numbers recovering? How are the deer sizes? Because, again, Sean and I have talked about this. This is a big emotional thing for all of us dealing with it. Me, I'm probably not going to hunt West Virginia or Ohio this year. Most of my West Virginia properties have been affected, other than just one of my our farm, main one.
That's crazy.
So it's a big deal, and so what we want to try to be able to do is show that, talking to some of these other states that have been through this, that some do sit there and say, look, or even West Virginia. I've had some people already messaging me that said, hey, look, this happened 2-3 years ago. And already within 3 years, we've seen some of the biggest and best bucks that we've ever had. And we've seen some of our numbers rebound.
Yeah.
And of course, that. Less competition, less stress. The deer have more opportunity for high quality forage just automatically by reduced deer numbers. So,
that's one thing we want to discuss a little bit more after we take a break here and hear a word from our sponsors. But we want to talk about how this has happened before. This is not the only time that this has happened. This has happened before, but it's becoming a bigger thing, and we want to talk about why that is and how how can we better help it. So, hear a word from our sponsor. We'll be right back. This episode of On the Limb with Nature's Voice Game Calls is brought to you by Outdoor Pro Shop, LLC. Outdoor Pro Shop is a family-owned and operated firearms dealer and sporting goods retailer. They have pay-over-time options, a rewards program, and customer service satisfaction that is unmatched. They might not be the biggest, but they strive to be the best. Contact them today at 240-360-1298 or visit them on the web at www.outdoor-pro-shop.com. That's Outdoor Pro Shop, 240-360-1298. All right, guys, we're back with Chris Ashley with Passion for the Wild and Wonderful Outdoors here in West Virginia. Talking to him, continuing our discussion on EHD. Chris has been helping and assisting Longspur Tracking and Outfitting with Sean Butler, and he's been helping them out with some of the efforts to kind of mitigate EHD here in West Virginia. First, I want to go over and do our salute to valor. I was reading an article on the internet just the other day, and I'm like, you know what? We're going to give this man a salute on the podcast. He is West Virginia. It's coming out of Clarksburg, West Virginia, WBOY News. I pull a lot of information from their news thing because it's really good. They do a lot of news for the outdoors as well. And, we also pull some things from West Virginia Metro News with Chris Lawrence, some of the things that he puts out. We kind of help push that back out there to people that's maybe not in his area where they're listening and things. But so this is coming out of Clarksburg this weekend. Let's see, it was on Sunday, I think. And this man is Francis Dalton, also known as the oldest known miner in America.
Wow.
So this man turned 104 on Sunday. He started working in the coal mines with his father when he was 8 years old and spent the rest of his life there. And aside from the years that he spent serving his country during World War II, where he earned a Purple Heart for his bravery and sacrifice, Dalton has spent more than 4 decades underground in Monongalia County and is an 84-year member of the UMWA. Is that not crazy?
Goodness gracious.
That's awesome. So, and he seems like he's doing well. They showed a picture of him and everything. So, our hats off to you, Mr. Dalton. Thank you for your service to our country, and thank you for help keep the lights on. Mining coal here in West Virginia. So, that's awesome. I read that story, and I was like, man, that's perfect for our salute to valor. I mean, West Virginian, coal miner.
That's it, man. That's it.
Served in the military, Purple Heart recipient. You can't get any better than that, And he's 104.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, Chris. So before we left there to hear a word from our sponsor, we were talking about, this is not the only time that EHD has hit West Virginia and the surrounding states. So why do you think that it's been a bigger thing now than in the past?
I think this year was kind of a perfect storm. I mean, you're right. I mean, even my area here in Wood County, we got hit with EHD a few years back. I mean, I know even in particular here, we had a group, a bachelor group of 3 to 5 bucks And I know I ended up finding 3 of them dead in our creek that had died from the EHD. So, no, it's not new. But I think, I kind of talked with some others about it. I think this year was a perfect storm. You mentioned it earlier about the climate change. So, one of the things that we're understanding is that, especially south, this is not unusual at all because of the climates there. They don't normally get those hard frost or freezes that have the tendency to, I think, knock down those numbers that would be trying to make it through in their dormant state.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a lot of our climate change is the same. We're not getting those super heavy, deep freezes a lot of times. So you're setting up for more to make it through and transition into the spring or summer months, let's say. But the idea with it is that typically, the EHD, is my understanding, is really not coming heavily until like September timeframes normally.
Okay.
And it was a complete change this year where people started really seeing it being impacted in like June and July. And what we ended up getting was, we started out with really, really wet time frame. And so you had all this water that was put down in areas that normally doesn't have the water. So you created a lot of standing water all over the place. And then we went right into a drought. So what happens is next thing you know, you start evaporating and absorbing and all that water starts drying up. And what are you creating? You're creating a perfect breeding ground for the midge all over the place with that new wet, exposed, muddy areas. Yeah. And then again, you're staying in that whole dry phase that we were in until here just recently with a little bit more rain.
Yeah. That
is just still promoting them. And so I really hadn't even had that appreciation until I talked with the Ohio DNR when they said, "Oh yeah, you're over in Ohio too, and you're getting hit hard right there in the Bartlett area. You're pretty much also in the epicenter on that side of the river." And they're saying it's because of all this rain. And I'm like, well, I thought it was all tied to drought. Well, it can happen both ways. You get the rain and then you get the dry, or you get the drought that just has what you got and it all recedes and sets you up at the wet, exposed, muddy areas. So that's why I say perfect storm was getting all that rain and then getting the drought after it.
So it takes time for these, I guess, to develop after you've had, a good bit of rain, and then you go through a drought spell, and then I guess it has to, like you're saying, this is a perfect storm. It has to have that process to develop into what it needs.
Yeah, and again, they're setting up on those water holes, and that's why when it's asked, what can we do immediately? What are some of the actions that some of the people are taking? Whether it's try to clean up your water source the best you can, try not to have stagnant water. I don't think it's normally in the area is an issue where you have fresh moving water historically or typically. Yeah. Try to eliminate those wet, muddy areas around your water line, whether it be, trying to use, I don't know, gravel, mulch,
sand.
Yeah. To try to cover up those exposed areas, kind of makes me wonder about going around my water holes and making it almost like a little beach.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are also sitting there just saying, you know what, I'm eliminating all of my man-made water holes and I'm going to liners or I'm going to tubs. Is another strategy.
Yeah.
Well, and that's something to be said. I mean, I know we just done a Whitetail Weekly. You posted it yesterday about so I do a Whitetail Weekly segment here for the podcast. And I'm a real big fan of what is his name? Whitetail, Jeff Sturgis with Whitetail Habitat Solutions.
Yep.
And man, that guy grows some really, really nice deer, and obviously he makes a living, going around, and consulting, properties and stuff, for trophy deer. But I put in a water hole with a tub like that, and it's completely dry all the way around it. And you can see, the deer have got it wore down, plumb to the dirt to where they're drinking out of it. But there's no mud there, and the water, for a deer water source, right now, and I'll do an update on it tomorrow for you, Mike, just, so we have another Whitetail Weekly, but also it's very clean in perspective of deer.
One of the things that just caught my, that just came to mind was you're doing this under foliage.
Yeah.
So that extra foliage falling is going to help mitigate that mud that if it would come up around this thing.
Yeah.
Because you did slope it in a little bit.
Yeah.
So normally,
I sloped it to where the water would drain.
well, your water's going to drain in.
Yeah.
Your air circulating around that will dry that up. If there's not going to be any standing water around it.
No.
You know?
Yeah, it can.
But if there is anything that stays wet, you're going to have that extra foliage that comes down on it.
Yeah.
And it's going to keep it from getting that muddy area that this thing needs to breed in. So,
and I think from the sounds of it, I did similar too with one of my tubs, and I have it, in shaded areas, so you're also not getting that direct sun, high heat,
Just cooking.
stagnant,
Yeah, cooking.
baking water that's getting hot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, like you said, I assume it sounds like mine. I set up to where it's sloped. I put this tub in maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, and I've never filled it since.
Really?
I did the initial fill, and by having it sloped, I've never had to add water to it since.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had a spot. I've got 8 acres behind my house, and it's kind of like suburban and whatnot. Fun fact, the entire reason I bought my house was because, when I was bow hunting it in college, I had permission to hunt it, and I had like probably a 165 on camera behind it, like just a mega. And I was like, man, this is great. And I always typically get like one big one that comes through there, mid-October and sticks around. But, yeah, so I sloped it, and kind of like what you're saying, it all like, drains in. So if we get some rain and stuff, and I know the deer have been slamming it. I've got I've got a pretty big, doe population that hangs around real close to the house, shoot the fawns and stuff bed in my driveway, like to this day. If I wanted to, I could literally kill a deer like any day off my front porch. But, I obviously leave them be, but I know deer are hitting it like daily. And I think it's really good, I know I have a lot of deer hitting it, and like to look at the water hole, like it's very clean. There's a lot of deer tracks around it. I mean, they're slamming the water hole, and from this rain we've been getting, that little bit of slope on that one side, I mean, it just drains right into the tub, and that's it. And, there's some trees kind of up above it. I got a couple beech trees, kind of right up against it. So it kind of just naturally like kind of tucks into the woods, up high on an oak ridge. And I mean, they've been hitting it. Now, one thing that I will say that does worry me, is with all the rain. So I put in a food plot, and I've got a low spot in that food plot. And, I really need, I really need a tractor with like a bigger bucket, or like to get some fill dirt. Whenever I was putting in the plot, it was so dry, it was really hard for me to, and I thought I had it filled enough, but I didn't. So I've got a little bit of standing water still from that rain in that food plot, and that is a muddy mess. So that actually like does have me worried. So I may go in with just like some, I don't know. I mean, I'll go and spread sawdust in it, whatever I got to do. I don't know, whatever I can do to clean it up. But that's a muddy mess, and there's deer tracks all in it. And they're coming up. They're eating some of the young oats and some of the young rye that I've got in there, and that I am gonna have to clean up. I actually was thinking about that today, but no, the water hole itself, like it's super clean, and like the deer really come to it. And I think another thing, you kind of talked about like that water heating up, and like, pond liners are good, like, kiddie pools are good, whatever, but like one thing I noticed that Jeff Sturgis talks about is like, and the reason why he likes those cattle troughs so much is they're deep, and like, and obviously like with deeper water, like, there's not as much surface area exposed, so it's not going to evaporate as fast. And I feel like if you have one of those deeper, 110-gallon cattle troughs in the ground, in a shaded spot, you don't lose water. You don't lose water from evaporation, and I just think that deeper water stays a little bit cooler, like enough to probably matter.
Yeah, it's kind of like your basement in your house. If you think about it, that's covered on most of your sides, maybe 3 sides, 4 sides. That temperature wants to generally stay cooler and more constant. Yeah.
So I think that would be. I mean, I think that's a pretty good. And I don't know what you put yours in with the plastic, but the one I got is it just happened to be the one that was at the feed store that I bought. But it's like a flexible rubber, like a real thick, flexible. I mean, it's still pretty stiff, but like it's got some give to it. It's like a flexible rubber, and I wonder if that rubber also kind of helps insulate that water a little bit. So, there are some EHD treatments that I was looking at online.
The water treatment stuff.
Yeah, the water treatment stuff. So this is EHD Fence is what it's called.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yep.
You have any experience with that?
I haven't actually used it yet. That is someone that we're talking with about maybe assisting with this study.
Yeah.
Part of that again is the strategy behind it. Don't quote me on it, but some of the information exchange I've had with the guy was that it's really about trying to clean up your water so that you promote the predators of the midge, and also trying to minimize the environment from which the midge flourishes. And what I mean by that is, again, you create, as you mentioned earlier, I think it was, Mike, about a proper pH water to where you're promoting the aquatic life. So you've got the frogs, the salamanders, you've got the dragonflies, all these different things that would be going after the midge. And the idea is that it's trying to improve or increase the predation rate of the midge.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily going after or doing anything with the virus. It's going after
What causes that
the
virus?
object that's transferring the virus.
Yeah. Yeah,
And so you're also going to try to eliminate the muck and the mud that they're trying to again continue their life cycle after hatch in that water source.
Yeah, and one of the things that I remember about that article that I read, it talked about different gardens that you have on your property and the different different species of bushes and trees and plants. So we have, I think, 34 different trees and bushes on our property that I trim. And I don't have a lot of property, but I have a lot of bushes and stuff.
Yeah.
So we got pine trees, we've got hostas, we've got oh man, I don't even know what they are, but they're purple and they got thorns on them. And we've got a bunch of different, hedgerow bushes and things like that, azalea bushes, oh man, all kinds of different things. I don't even know all the names of them. Most of them were there when we bought the house, and I've just kept them up since then. But a lot of those things promote that good environment on your property. And I have dragonflies around my house all year round.
Yeah.
And it was crazy because I had started reading about that because we do have flies.
Yeah.
We have flies that, and I don't understand what this is, but it seems like in the spring, there's nothing on our porch there's no water on our porch. There's nothing decayed. There's nothing that sets there. There's nothing that stinks there. But we have about 10 or 15 different, groups of flies that'll collect right in front of the front door. And we can put the fly strap, the little strips out there. And once you put that out there and it catches 3 or 4 of them, they're gone. They leave. So I don't even know why those congregate there. But we have dragonflies like crazy on the property.
Yeah. I just think that diversity on a property helps everything involved.
Yeah, I
mean,
do too.
It helps from dragonflies to fish, to if you've got diversity in a pond and around a pond, or fish population, growing big deer. I mean, that's why like hunting big woods are so hard. It's like if you don't have the diversity, right? If you don't have cuts, if you don't have food plots, whatnot.
Yep.
If you go into a spot and it's all hemlock, I mean, the deer population, of that place, is typically low because, it cannot support a large population. But if you get into a place that's got a lot of clear cuts, got a lot of red oaks, got a lot of white oak, it's got a couple creeks running through it, maybe there's a strip mine up above that's got some clover in it, I mean,
now one thing
you're going to be in deer.
One thing about where my house is, it's sloped. The house where my house sits is sloped, so it stays moist all year round. I mean, the ground stays good and saturated about all year round, except for this year. Obviously, we had that big drought, but I had areas and stuff in the yard that was cracking, and grass was just burned up like crazy. But and now that I think about it, we didn't see as many dragonflies this year as we did last year, so that plays a part in it for sure. I mean, I think that, like Chris said, the perfect storm for the way that the climate was this year and how hot it was. And, you know, we have this issue with ticks. Every year it seems like we've had this issue for the past 10 years. It doesn't get cold enough to kill off all those ticks. I mean, I'm finding ticks on me all the way up into December sometimes.
Yeah.
And that didn't used to never happen. What's that, Chris?
I felt like ticks were also out early this year.
Yeah.
At least coming in with the pets, that it was shocking me how early it was, and I thought, oh, this is going to be a bad year.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, Chris, we sure appreciate your time this evening. If you get any more information, if you during your all studies and your all's testing there, please pass it along to us, and we'll get back on and do an update on this and see how the season's going sometime around mid-season.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So-
I mean, I know some are still being hit and impacted. You know, there's still people messaging me, showing me information and where they've had some new ones and stuff.
Yeah.
I think some of it has maybe slowed a little bit since we had this big rain, and that's kind of what we were all hoping for, was a little bit of a drowning of some of the eggs of the midge.
Yep.
But my fear is if we get into this dry drought again, or extended period with this heat, are you just going to get another wave of it?
I'm hoping that we're heading into some cooler temperatures and we'll get rid of that 80-degree days. I'm ready for 50 and 60-degree days, in my opinion.
I know, but we need the hard frost.
Yeah, we do. We really do. I just got word from Greg Hicks. He is a big-time listener of the show, and he's also chairman for Ducks Unlimited. He has a friend where 6 deer that are dead on his property in Mason County is getting inspected tomorrow. So DNR is definitely on that and going to check that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of Greg Hicks, there's a Ducks Unlimited banquet this weekend in Taze Valley. It's at the, or no, it's not in Taze Valley. I'm sorry. It's in Barbersville. It's, I can't remember the place that it's a wellness center thing down there in Barbersville. But if you get on the Ohio Valley Chapter Ducks Unlimited page on Facebook, you'll see all the information there. We go to it every year. We donate things to it for the live and silent auctions, so we'll be there. If you guys want to come by, have a good dinner. They have all kinds of prizes, live, silent auctions, and it's
Buy a hunt.
supporting wetland habitat for ducks. So, or you could buy a hunt like Caleb did.
Yeah. Did not even go on it.
Yep. Anyways. All right, Chris, we sure appreciate you, buddy. Thank you.
Hey, no, I appreciate you guys having me.
Okay. Hey, tell everybody where they can get on your page there, Passion for the Wild and Wonderful.
So you can reach out on social media platforms with Facebook, Instagram, as well as YouTube. And then also, too, I've been doing a lot here lately with just my personal page on Facebook under Chris Ashley. But, again, all kinds of content that I can put out there that's primarily outdoor-related, tips, tricks, full hunts. And then, as you said, a lot of stuff right now that's the big hot topic is trying to look at EHD and what we're doing with it and what we can do going forward and the situation that we're all in.
Yep, definitely. All righty, buddy. Have a good evening. We sure appreciate you.
You all as well.
All right.
Nice
Good
meeting
night.
you, Chris.
All right, bye.
All right, guys. Be sure to check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. We thank everybody for listening and watching the live this evening. Our live feed actually went down, so you're hearing us now just coming across the audio stream, but I think the internet or something messed up there on that live feed, but it happens from time to time. That's technology.
You'll have it on them big jobs.
You'll have that on them big jobs, he said. Come on.
Come on.
All right, guys. Thanks. Have a good night. Do you want the true Western hunt experience? Book your hunt of a lifetime today with Highland Outfitters, LLC. Located in Highland, Wyoming, 50 miles west of Casper. Their location in central Wyoming gives you access to some of the best hunting areas in the state. Highland specializes in archery hunts for elk and antelope. Their operations include Wyoming, Texas, and Africa. Highland Outfitters employs some of the finest guides in the business. All guides are licensed by the Wyoming Board of Professional Outfitters and Guides. No matter what the species you decide to hunt, you can count on your guide giving you 110% of being the true professional guide from start to finish. Book your hunt today at 307-797-3311 or 307-797-3312. Visit them on the web at HighlandOutfitters.com. With Highland Outfitters, you will get the true Western adventure.